Oh, the fucking dog. Dog is scratching out to get in. See, this is the joy of it. Did you just get? We started. Most importantly, did you get a dog?
I did. I have a Cavachon who was literally trying to get in as well. He started off as Teddy, and of course, now we have dogs. He is now Theodore Barrington III.
Yeah.
So he's been an interesting addition to the family, shall we say?
Was it your choice to get a Cavachon? I wouldn't. You don't strike me as that kind of man.
No, it was the mom wanted like a little dog because my mom is riddled with cancer and can't be dealing with a giant dog tackling her to the ground and becoming the alpha. So we decided on this little Cavachon, and my dad, of course, he was, dead against the dog. He wanted a dog for years. No, couldn't have one. Now he will walk into the house, grunt at us, and then get on the ground and go, "How's my special little boy? Did you have a good breakfast? Did you sleep well?" And I was like, "Are you fucking joking me?" Like, my brother graduated college. My sister graduated college. Didn't get a phone call. My mom was diagnosed with cancer for the second time. Didn't get a phone call. The dog cocked his leg to pee against the tree. I got 3 phone calls that day. I was out with the walk with the dog. Did I tell you this earlier? He walks up. Guess what he does? Cocks his leg against the tree, like a big boy. And I was like, "Yeah, you rang me already for this." "Oh, just making sure. 3 fucking phone calls. So there's my pecking order. Like, it's bad enough I've been below the sister and the brother for a while now. Now the fucking dog is above me.
Well, I don't feel too. They get it. They all get a renaissance later in life. The old lads, like we've our son here, and I was in this house. I was in my parents' place for, I suppose, the first 17 years of my life, back and forth, in and out every so often. There was not a hug. There was not that I wanted one, because it would have been weird. You know what I mean? It'd be like that family that went to Dubai or something. Where are you off to? Like, what are you doing that for? Madness. And that was the same thing. And I see now there's hugs galore, all sorts of fucking baby play and everything. It's like, what? Right. Interesting that this is the time you want to fucking produce this stuff, but it's the same. Yeah, same with the dog. The fucking dog. They brought the dog to mass the other day.
I would have thought you'd have a good Protestant dog now.
She does look very Protestant, in all fairness. She does have, and not like modern Protestant. She looks like old school Protestant, like she'd have a monocle. Like, and you'd be building her railroad. That kind of Protestant, like.
There's definitely a sash in the bloodline there somewhere.
She is from Wexford. There's a lot of Protestants in Wexford, but
we had a dog for a week when I was a kid. And I came home, my mom was standing in the kitchen watching me do it. I came home from school on my lunch.
Playing the lambic drum.
Oh, worse than that. Went out, got the food. My mom's standing in the kitchen watching me do this. I walk out the back garden, fill up the bowl, call the dog. I say, Buster, nothing. Walk in, I was like, "Where's the dog?" My mom goes, "Oh, he was biting my shoes earlier, so I brought him away." I was like, "You brought him away?" She had brought him back to the vets, like ostensibly to get put down. She's like, "No, don't tell your brother. My brother's 10 years younger than me." So he comes in from play school, and I was like, "She's after killing the dog." And fair play to him. He didn't, like, you're 6 years old. The only person you know is your mother. He didn't talk to her for about 2 weeks because she'd gotten rid of the dog. And now all of a sudden, like, the dog's in the bed with her, and she's like sitting there watching Diana documentaries, explaining what's going on to the dog. And like, for fuck's sake, where was this love and affection when I was a kid?
We have, like, as a society, I think we've changed ridiculously. Like, where I grew up, dogs would be shot. Do you know, like, it was a thing. Shot the dog. It was like, the dog needed shooting, like, or in the same way you got rid of the fucking car because it was giving you trouble. Like, you just shoot the fucking thing. Like the notion of putting a jacket on a dog, or actually giving it a proper name, do you know, that would be beyond, like, even when at first I talking with lads, and you're walking the dog and stuff, and talking with lads here, and they're going, you fucking take the dog. The dog had to walk its fucking self. Like, it's 4 fucking legs, just walk the fucking thing. Could not grasp why the jump that we've made, like, now into, I brush the dog's teeth. Yeah, I do. Rather than just giving it a twig to fucking sort itself out. And
you reminded me there, a friend of mine is down from your neck of the woods, and they had this old dog, and the dog from next door used to jump the fence, attack the bollocks out of it, and run off. So one day they done it, and he runs in. He's like, da, 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 da. So the dad comes out. All right, hang on. Walks back out with the shotgun, blows the fucking dog away.
Yeah.
Get bin bags. Puts the dog in the bin bags. Grand. They drive off down to the canal. Fuck the dog into the canal. Now, where it gets weird is the next door neighbor, they used to drop the kids to school. So the next day, the little kid jumps in the car and goes, Mr. I'm going to call it Mr. Lonigan. Do you mind if we stop and put up a few posters? So he has like posters for the missing dog. So the dad's there, no problem at all. So
Oh my God.
goes up, and my friend was telling, goes, for weeks they'd be driving by and they'd see like the missing dog sign, and he just turned around to the car and go, bet you they don't find him. For fuck's sake.
But that's straight out of a movie, like, isn't it? Can we stop and put up posters for the fucking dog that you just shot yesterday?
Yeah, so that's your RSPCA sponsorship gone there for the podcast.
Well, to be fair, I probably wouldn't have gotten one anyway. But yeah, my wife has had an introduction to country life. Like people, I used to joke about this on stage. Like people think the cities are tough places. Like not at all. There's no danger in the city versus what there is. You might get a clip of the Lewis. That'll be about it. That's the roughest thing. You might be frightened by a few people that are missing their teeth and stuff on O'Connell Street. Really, that's about as dangerous. But in the country, shit gets killed. Do you know that kind of way? It's like, because it's during the middle of the Sitka deer or Sitka deer rut at the minute. So the males are all a bit fucking,
that sounds a bit wicker, man.
Yeah, I know, isn't it? Isn't it? Yeah, it is. Yeah. But
just even the way you just tossed it off real casually there, it's like, oh, we're in the middle of the Sitka deer. And I was like, oh, fuck, I don't like that. And you have a sword behind you as well, which is
it does. It does. Yeah. And you see the 50 cal and it does. It does look all a bit ominous, all right. And it is, when you think about it, it is a bit fucking, fucking small bit archaic, I suppose. Now to think about it, there's not a lot of place for normal fucking religion around here, to be honest, which is fairly druidistic but pagan fucking. But we rounded the corner not 200 yards from the house, and there was a male deer had gotten a belt of a truck, and he wasn't finished off, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I mean, I know we think they're beautiful animals, which they are and all the rest, but a frog can be just as beautiful, but you'll see them squished all the time and nobody gets upset. But it was a moment, right? It was a moment when I dropped her back, and I went and got, because you got to finish him off. You can't just leave the poor son of a bitch fucking die there. I dropped her back to the house, and it was a moment where I was kind of thinking, because the little fella was there in the passenger, or not in the passenger, in the fucking baby seat. I was thinking, is this the time to show him? Is this the time to show him? How
old is your son?
He'll be 2 in 2 weeks.
I like the way you said that to justify. Oh, he's 2 in 2 weeks now, and we're not talking about an infant here.
Yeah. We're out of the months phase now. We're actually into years.
He smokes
now.
20 major a day. Like he's gotten into the porno.
But that just crossed my mind for a moment. And then all of a sudden reality kicked in. I'm not actually going to voice what I just thought of. I'm just going to, I'm going to shut my fucking mouth here. Because even for me, because it's a long time since I've had to do that exact thing. Like, it was rough because you're going to, poor bastard, but it's the fair thing to do. But there was a moment where I thought this would be a serious education for this kid. But you think it's a bit too young?
Okay, one, I need to find out what you've done to the deer. And two, the context that we just said, I was like, is this the age where I show him how to kill something? Like, what like...
Well, yeah, I've just wondered.
That's the most Dexter Morgan thing I've ever heard. What age do I start showing my son me murdering an animal?
Well, it's putting him out of his misery, the poor old devil. Like, and it was.
Might be too early for animals. Humans now.
Yeah. Well, it did. It just had to go, but it was deeply upset. It was just showed the flip side of life, like that you will never encounter that in an urban environment. Like you'll never encounter that moment where you just, all right, like you may come across the odd dog shit. If you're a good citizen, you'll pick it up or whatever, or you'll just give out and taught and maybe do a fucking Instagram post like Dave McSavage about it, where you're giving out going, people live in dog shit everywhere. Can you imagine McSavage round in the corner and there's a half dead deer that's been struck by a vehicle lying there? And he now, because the next person on has the responsibility. That's the word, like, or you go find somebody who has a rifle to put the poor thing out of its misery, like.
Well, he's rejuvenated his career trying to find someone smearing butter on a bench. So I can only imagine what you have to deal with buckets of blood coming out of a deer on the side of the road. Your wife's a dub, isn't she? How does she deal with, like...
It was heavy. It was heavy for her now. It was heavy for her, like.
And she's posh dub as well. Like, the worst thing she had growing up is somebody giving her like a rosé instead of a Prosecco or something.
I know, that's exactly that's the base we're on. But it's a long road. It's a long road, but it was funny, like, and then concurrent, like, absolute... like they talk about tough lives growing up in Kabul right now. Like, I tell you what, like, you see that, and then all of a sudden, conversely, I land back and there's a fox trying to get in through the fence at my hens. Like, this is emotions fucking off the Richter, Andy. Like this is
Your life sounds like a terrible James Corden film. Where there's foxes trying to get in, there's deer all attacking you, there's sheep showing up in trench coats and glasses knocking on the door trying to steal your fucking pie from the window.
Little German pigs. Yeah. I don't know. It's actually I like the film. All bar James Corden was the voice of Peter Rabbit. That fucking ruined it for me. Like, why do we hate James Corden?
Apparently he's an absolute twat in real life, but he has that thing where the
But
Jimmy
there's
Kimmel
loads of
thing
people that are cunts. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but you'd still go, Ara.
He's not talented enough to get away with it.
Yes, okay. All right. That's absolutely, I 100% that key fits that lock that you just, yeah.
Like, I'd forgive carpool karaoke if it was anyway entertaining, but it's just like, it's like the Joe Rogan thing. It's like, no matter who's on, it's the same thing every time.
Yeah.
That's what annoys me about him. Like, his whole thing is like, I'm not going to get a decent interview. I want a viral moment that people will share on Twitter.
Yeah. And then, well, without Joe, if he isn't pushing yoga or fucking bow hunting, it's,
Like, every interview, like, the only one I've enjoyed recently is the Tarantino one, because Tarantino is verbose enough to just go, shut up, I'm going to tell whatever story I want to do. I've no interest in Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan's fucking deer hunting or his elk, so I'm not going to ask him any questions. I'm going to go off on a tangent about fucking Bruce Lee being an arsehole and Sonny Chiba films that nobody's seen from fucking 40 years ago. Joe, you're just going to sit there and shut up, and this is going to be the best interview you've ever had. Yeah,
Joe did shut the fuck up, in fairness, and you could see it was rankling with him. Like, he was talking about Bruce Lee. Well, he was my hero. I don't care. He was a cunt.
And then he kind of going along with it, and I was like, 2 weeks ago you had a Bruce Lee t-shirt on this show saying about how he's the modern mixed martial artist, Bruce Lee, and then Tarantino says he's used to go, yeah, he was such a pity patty bastard, wasn't he?
do you know what, for the first time only about 2 or 3 months ago, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I don't fully get it. Was I supposed to get it? Like, it's really good, but I'm kind of going, is it just really good acting? Because there's kind of no story here at all.
No, and he said it himself as well. He's like, but there's no plot device. It's not like Pulp Fiction where there's something driving it on. It's basically a love letter to old Hollywood. And Kevin McCarthy, who I fucking despise, actually came up with a fantastic reasoning behind the film. He said this is Tarantino's fuck you to the Generation X, because if you notice, he's cast like, all these famous actors' sons and daughters. So you've got like Uma Thurman's kid, Ethan Hawke, Kevin Smith's kid, and they're like the Gen Xers. It's like, oh, you had all this and you've done fucking nothing with it. Whereas we used to have real actors, like Burt Reynolds and all this. I was like, shit, he might actually be onto something there. So I shouldn't have mentioned him and just said that was my own theory rather than give him the credit for it.
I would have never known. I would have never known. I mean, I'm not fully sure what McGahern to be up to, so I don't really. You could have absolutely have taken that as your own. Have you ever considered, because you messaged the other day, or we were tweeting or whatever the other day, and you were like something about the countryside. Could you do the country, do you think?
I think I could do certain aspects of it, but I am the most pussy man you could probably come up with. Like,
no, just way.
My missus does everything. Like, she does the hammer, and she does that. Like, I stand there and I'm called the hammer bitch. I literally hold the hammer, I hold the screws, and I hand it to her. She does everything. What I love about it is the chats. I just love stopping random people in the street and just, having a 10-15 minute chat with them about nothing. Like, we were in Wexford for, like, the family's from Wexford. We were down there. And I was there about 2 days, and I was looking at like Wexford jerseys and tracksuits and all this. I was like, I'm gonna go full wanker here. That aspect I could, but if it was anything to do with real actual work that wasn't typing on a computer or watching a film, definitely not. No. Like, if I came across a deer on the side of the road, I'd be nudging her out of the car going, here, can you take care of that for us, please?
God, that's a TV show I want to see. Because it was mentioned to me before, would you go and do these, because there was a show years ago. It was a very good show. It was like, it was on Dave or Bravo, one of those, back when those channels were, I think it was Bravo years ago. And this guy went around the world doing tough jobs. And I remember it being mooted or bandied about, like, would I be interested in doing something like that? I went, of course, yeah. And then it was put across the table going, this would be utterly shit to watch. I was like, why? Tom might actually fucking start enjoying this rough work. And I mightn't actually mind it too much. But you, my friend, you would be, have you day one as artificial inseminator for cows? That'd be
I'm the Rebecca Lewis straight away. So
yes.
me wanking off cows, fantastic. Thanks. To be fair, it wouldn't be far off where it'd be. I'd be like, yeah, you know, you don't want me in the slaughterhouse. You don't want me in the fields. You just, no. To be honest, that'd probably be the job I'd go for and the one I'd excel at the most. I've had 30 years of practice now, you know. I've done one for long enough. 6 won't be a problem to me.
Why not?
Do cows have 6? That just goes to show how bad I am at this. I was like, cows have 6 others.
Yeah, no, they absolutely don't. They absolutely don't. No. What cows have 6 udders? Yeah, no, cows have typically 4 udders, but yeah, no, wow.
No, Andy, that's a bull.
We're way
Get
off.
the fuck out of there.
This will be your moment. It's Kingpin moment. You walk out drinking a big jar of fucking.
Oh, Jesus.
How good was that moment? I mean, it was such a silly movie. Like, he's just walking out, just slurping away on a big jar of jizz.
I like how this has taken a turn from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to me drinking bull semen in 2 moves.
It's my speciality. I'll steer everything back to drinking bull semen. Apparently it's really good for you and it fights coronavirus. I don't know. Was actually speaking. Yeah, I meant to actually ask you about that. You'd put up a video ages ago on Instagram, and it was of you driving to a test center or something in, where was it? Croke Park. It was this most fucking like World War Z looking shit I've ever seen. Like, where you're driving in this and all these people in hazmat suits are waving you on.
Yeah, it looked like Children of Men. That's all I kept thinking of. It was drive. So I drove my brother in, I think it was, and just going in like this. The people like from the ET suits, as I call them, all walking out, and you like stick your head out the car, and they're jamming this cotton bud up your nose.
Oh, and from the car, like
yeah, I hadn't seen any of the testing at this point, so I didn't know what the actual thing was. I was like, oh, what the fuck are they doing? What the fuck are they doing? So it was like basically like the shittest drive-through you've ever been in your life. You like hang your head out the side of the car, get jammed with a cotton bud, and then go off. While I'm stuck in the car with this, you know, potentially infectious fucking zombie horde beside me.
It was that whole like cold concrete look to it, you know, that kind of way. If it was in the middle of a nice car park or something, or you know, something, but this is this concrete cold tunnel that you're driving in. I had no fucking idea what was going on, because like that, I mean, when we got out when the going was good, like, and there was nothing really has changed a whole pile. Like it is what it is around here or whatever. Well, I didn't fully understand our messaging last night. Was I ghosting you or did you ghost me?
No, what I'd done is I had wrote out a very nice message asking you to come on my show, X Vision, cheap plug. And then you asked me to come on this, and I was like, the cheeky fuck, like he just, you know, I asked him this, he just ignores that, but now he wants someone on his show. So I went into the message and I was going to hit you with that today, and it turns out I hadn't actually hit send.
So basically, I'm twice as sound as you are.
100%.
Wow.
But I will say that your co-host, Mr. McBride, did ghost me, and then a week later messaged me going, yeah, look, I'm not going on your show. By the way, I'm trying to remember the name of the film. Do you know what this, and this? I was like, you fucking prick.
McBride fucking burned you, did he?
Oh, 100%.
What?
I was like, listen, shut up for a second. I need a favor from you.
Wow, there's now a bit of salt there now. That's good. I'll go back to McBride with that now. and I've agreed to do it. Well, tell us, yeah, I normally go to wait till the end, but what's Extravision is that your podcast, or is it 2 separate things, your podcast and Extravision? No,
Extravision is the podcast. So basically the idea behind it was you're going into Extravision on a Friday night, you have to pick 3 films.
Lovely.
That you get out of there. Like, it doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, your favorite, just 3 films that you enjoy or love for whatever reason. Like, so I want something that, you know, I don't want you going, oh yes, this black and white artsy French film, just to show me how much you know about films. I couldn't give a bollocks. I want you to pick things like Masters of the Universe and tell me why, you know, Dolph Lundgren should have won an Oscar for that.
Yeah.
Things like that, like those type of films. Because it's something, for maybe it's just me, you can tell a lot about a person by what their favorite films are. And you can kind of tell, I'm going to have a bit of crack with you. Or, you know, if you say, what's your favorite film? Oh, Shawshank, Goodfellas. And it's like, yeah, no, you fuck off. Like,
right. Yeah. I was going to ask you that. What are the key ones to not come at you with? Where you go, oh, for the love of Jesus Christ.
Forrest Gump. And it's like, no. Yes, they're great films, but no, that just, it's like saying, what's your favorite band? Oh, the Beatles.
Yes, I'm with you. Yeah, there's like next to nothing you can do nothing with that shit. Like, yeah, because I was, even when you messaged me, I was like, I think in my top 3, probably I'll go with Legally Blonde. Why not? Because it's the complete package, that movie. It's the complete package.
And that's what I like. If you walk down to see you with the fucking Hulk Hogan mustache and the mullet, and you went, what's Tom going to pick as his favorite film? You're going, oh, he's going to pick Deliverance, or, you know, never in a million years would you think Legally Blonde is going to come out of your mouth.
Oh, it probably would. Yeah, that and The Princess Diaries. I mean, they fill their heart with warmth. You know what I mean? Actually, do you know what? I gave it an attempt based on your recommendation. You put up a quick review of Wild Mountain Thyme. I couldn't get through it, Andy. So I don't think I got to the interesting part, and I don't think I'm going to. I couldn't get through it. Jamie Dornan gave me
just to clarify, I didn't say it was good.
No, but you expressed this thing that it was basically well worth watching for the basic interest in it, because it was there was a twist or something in it, and I couldn't. Dornan was doing what happened to him there?
Like he's Irish. At some point, I assume he's come across other Irish people. Like, would you not have read that and gone, no?
I mean, look, for some reason, I think he's probably writing that a small bit. He's going, well, I'm Irish, I can get it. But you're Northern Irish. Like, it'd be a Dublin person making a bollocks of a Cork accent. It's in the same realms. Like, you go, would you not just go to Cork for a week and actually get the accent? Do you know? Whereas
if I was casting that, like, you would think the abuse I'm going to get because it's on your doorstep, I might put a bit of effort in and learn the slightest bit of an accent. And not even that, like, there's a scene in it where, like, John Hamm's character pulls up in it's like a Rolls Royce, and Jamie Dornan walks over and he's like looking at it, he's like banging on the hood, like all he's short of doing is feeding the fucking thing a carrot. And you're like, hang on, when is this supposed to be set? And then he pulls out an iPhone. Like, you have seen a car, you have an iPhone, but like this car has pulled up. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is this mythical beast that's shown up? Like, I must sacrifice some virgin so it doesn't anger it. Like,
I often wonder that. Yeah. Like, what was there any director standing by going, what the fuck are you doing? Come on, lad. What's the purpose? I cut you off there. Sorry, but I just couldn't figure out the purpose of this whole movie. Like, who's it benefiting? Like,
it seems like it's kind of like a board falch to try and get Americans who think this is what Ireland is. They think, it's still far and away and it's potatoes and all that sort of, fucking, oh my God, you're Irish? I'm 16.4% Irish. And fuck, did you come up with the maths on that? Like,
yeah.
Well, my mother gave an Irish guy a blowjob when she was pregnant, so that's how I got to that. But yeah, the twist in that, like, I'm not spoiling that for anyone. There's a whole thing, like, Emily Blunt goes, oh, geez, Jamie Dornan, I've loved you my whole life. Like, why didn't you tell me you loved me? And he turns around and says, I think I'm a B.
I think, say that again. What?
Yep. That was my reaction too. I think I'm a B.
A B, as in?
Yeah. So I thought, okay,
yellow and black, collecting
yellow
money.
and black, buzz. And I was there going, okay, maybe this is something to play into something else. No, that's genuinely what he thought. And then I looked up the play after, and apparently that's what was in the play as well.
It was fucking play of it.
Yeah, it's like what's One Night in Mullingar or fucking whatever it was. Maybe that's the porno version of it, but something like that. Something like that it's called. But I was just like, what? And I was like, this has to come back in. I was like, oh no, they're serious. This is what they think this is the end of the film is. And the gas part is, I'm watching Emily Blunt now doing all these interviews for Quiet Place, and people are asking her, it's like, oh, are you going to play, Mrs. Fantastic and the Marvels? She's like, well, those films really aren't cinema, and I don't really get the appeal of them. I was like, you've done Wild Mountain Thyme, you've done Mary Poppins. Don't start pretending you're in Jungle Cruise with The Rock. Like, don't start pretending you're like Meryl Streep and Frances McDormand combined. Like, just chill out there a bit. Like, you're not above these films.
So he thinks he's a B. That's what it is. Okay, Jamie Dornan's a B.
Yep.
Yeah. There's times to, like...
That's the reaction I had. I was just like, wait, they have to tie this up. There has to be some sort of, oh, well, because this, and this. Like, no, we're just going to leave that there. Fuck it.
Like, I'm sure Jamie Dornan, and you've probably fucking even met him. I'm sure he's a hell of a nice fella, but I can't... Is it just because he's so gorgeous that because I watched, the Siege of... what was it?
Jowdenville or whatever.
Jackoville or whatever. Yeah. You're like, not a bad movie, but he's got this fucking continuously, like, the paparazzi are papping him kind of pose every 2 seconds, just square jawed look. And you're like, you can't be, nobody's directing you to do that, are they? And even in that, his Republic of Irish accent, dreadful. Like, sounds like a bad American.
Into a very nice, neat, like 50 Shades of Grey is perfect for him, because it's just not like that book that started off as Twilight fan fiction. And I'm not messing. That's where it started off.
Really?
Online. Your woman, E.L. James, wrote Twilight fan fiction on a forum, and somebody read it and went, if you change the names and take out the vampire stuff, there's a book in this. And that's how that, became this like mad sensation. And the same with The Fall, where he's like this, sexy serial killer, where his whole thing is like everyone who loved that was like, oh God, like, you can break into my house anytime. Like he's like, yeah, but he's a terrible actor. At some point, someone will mistakenly cast him in a role where he needs to act, and then you're like, oh shit, no, you're just really, really ridiculously good looking.
I wonder, you see, like, does it get to a point, say like Matthew McConaughey, for the longest time he wasn't respected, but then because he was just playing rom-coms and shit like that, but then all of a sudden he drops 100 pounds and he's in the Dallas Buyers Club. Huge respect starts pouring in, and he starts doing class movies, and he turns into becoming a class actor. Is that on the horizon for Jamie, do you reckon, or is it just...
No, because I think you always had, it was like not Fast Times at Ridgemont, was it Dazed and Confused?
Yes, okay, yeah.
And even like I would argue with you that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is McConaughey's still his best film. Like you always saw like he had the potential to do something else, whereas you're watching Jamie Dornan films going, like you're this week Sam Worthington, or one of those, like, one of these lads who will just be in a big film for ages and then all of a sudden just vanish off the face of the earth.
Oh, wow. Like when you're looking Emily Blunt, then the whole way through it, let's be a bit dirty. I'll just have a bit of a dirty face through the whole thing, and that's Irish, isn't it?
That's literally like it's perfect makeup, perfect hair. It's like a bit of a smudge, just a bit of black dirt on the side of the face there. And she, I'm in such a state here. You're really not.
Like it is SNL though. Like to me, I thought this is a piss take. At some stage, they're going to break out of characters. It's somebody's dreaming, but after half an hour, I went, I can't even. I'm not even going to take the chance. Fuck
and
it.
It's one of them where you're looking at like Christopher Walken. Like the first line of the film is Christopher Walken saying, "Hi, I'm Tony Riley. I'm dead." And you're like, this has to be a comedy. Like this like, how did you get him to do this? Like this, like Emily Blunt is a decent actress. Like she's like things like Sicario and Edge of Tomorrow and things like that, which are good films. Like, how do you hand her that script in all sincerity and she goes, yeah, like it's not as if it's a big budget film where like Jungle Cruise, which I think is hilarious. The fact like The Rock is on a publicity tour with her, and they're always asking like, oh, how did Emily Blunt become attached to the project? And he's there, oh, it's a great story. I sent her the script and she never answered back, and then I emailed her and she read it and never answered me, and then we made her another offer and she came back and it was like, yeah, well, we got her in the end. I was like, you just told a story about how this film is so shit she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it twice, and eventually you paid her enough money where she just said, fuck it, no, I'll lower myself, I've got kids to raise, 10 million quid will look fantastic in the bank. And he hasn't got the self-awareness to realize, she's just agreed to do this for the money. Wild Mountain Thyme doesn't have that. Like, that didn't have a huge budget. Like, what did they offer to her that's like, yeah, no, I'll go to Ireland for 6 weeks to shoot this?
I suppose she was probably hoping to springboard out. And I suppose if you didn't, she can't have read it. She can't have read it. Do you know? She can't have read it. She was probably going, Jamie Dornan, and at that stage, possibly they had Christopher Walken on board. You go, fuck it, this might be worth a stint. Might be fucking worth a stint. Let's give it a go and go. Because this is the thing that kills me. Like, there's plenty, like the insult to actual Irish actors who are good that they could have stuck in there. But I did think at first when I saw the trailer for it that it was going to be like Wake and Ned. It was going to be just ridiculous from beginning to end as a comedy, and we'd get it. But they tried to play it kind of like as a romantic drama.
This is a really serious drama. And like she goes off to America with John Hamm, and John Hamm shows up and he's like, "Hey guys, where's the nearest Starbucks?" And it's like, I was like, in the middle of a field. Like, obviously there's not a Starbucks, you fucking moron. Like, and he's supposed to be this like well-traveled, well-to-do man, and he's like, "Why isn't there a Starbucks in the middle of this field in Ireland?" Like, and of course, at no point do they go to any cities in Ireland or anything where there's everyone's basically a muck savage in the thing. Yeah. So it's like you said, it's far and away, but 20, 30 years later.
You have to take your hat off to somebody like The Rock, in all fairness. The guy is that fucking in the zone and lack of fucks being given that he's saying things like, I'm just going to put on a hat, be jacked to fuck the whole way through it for no apparent reason whatsoever, and be so delusional that Emily Blunt is going to show up and do a movie because miraculous, just a miracle happened. Nothing to do with the 10 million they probably offered her. Like.
I hate The Rock.
Do you? I said I'd say it just because I had a funny feeling you were going to hate The Rock.
And probably the crowning achievement of my year so far has been the WWE put up a poll, like, who was the best actor out of John Cena, The Rock, or Batista? And I wrote back to it and I said, well, Batista's the only actor in there. He's worked with, Denis Villeneuve, James Gunn. He's actually tried to improve himself. Cena has a good comedy shtick, but he wouldn't be an actor. And The Rock is a muscled up Tony Robbins. And next, the ground went off. Next thing I checked the notifications, it's like 190 notifications. I was like, oh shit. Clicked on it. Batista is after retweeting this, commenting,
No.
saying, not going to say anything, not to start any rows, but just, I'm leaving this here. And I was like, oh shit. And then, of course, then the next 3 days, you've all like the Rock fans, you don't know, how is he the biggest star in the world if he's not a good actor? I was like, very easily. Have you seen any of his films? Like, he started off with like Welcome to the Jungle, Walking Tall. Really enjoyed them. And then he got burned. He done a film called Southland Tales with the guy who directed Donnie Darko. And that done shit.
Yes.
And then after that, he's just like, okay, I'm just going to put on a shirt, go in the jungle, sweat a lot, and be muscly. Like Jumanji. Like, he's in Jumanji with is it like Jack
Kevin
Black,
Hart
Danny
and
DeVito,
Roy,
and all them. So the whole point of that film is they're supposed to be essentially avatars for these kids.
Yeah.
So the whole fun of it is, you know, Kevin Hart is playing this old man, Danny DeVito or Jack Black's playing like a schoolgirl. So they're acting as if they're that. But The Rock just acts like The Rock. And then
I remember that. It was like, you're not supposed to be that nerdy kid or whatever. Like,
and every couple of scenes, he'll like, oh my God, I'm so insecure and nervous. And then he'll just go back to being The Rock. It's like he just forgot. And they're like, Dwayne, focus. No, Grant, no, it doesn't matter. It's going to make money anyway.
Yeah.
And he is charismatic. He can be good. Like, I thought he was good in Southland Tales. I thought he was good and be cool. And you have all this money and influence. And the reason I don't like him is because he gave an interview where he said, I get offered all these scripts with, like, you know, great scripts with great stories, to work with great directors, films that wouldn't normally get made, but the most amount of people wouldn't see them. So I turned them down. I was like, you were saying I'm getting offered better things. I could be making better movies, but, you know, I'm not going to make as much money on this. So I'm just going to stick to me sweaty green vest and do that.
Bottom line. That's all it comes out. Because in fairness to old Batista, like, he was self-aware enough. Did you ever see the one? I don't know whose show he was on, but it was a Kimmel or somebody here, and he was saying towards the end of the interview, he was saying that he was going to just now take up stand-up because he had an understanding. But you're kind of going, oh, what the fuck? Now another one going to do. Oh, I'm doing a stand-up hour like fucking Mike Tyson and fucking, you know. You're like, okay, all right, but he goes out on stage and actually tries to do stand-up and loses his shit and started kicking the fuck out of people and stuff. And it quickly you realize, oh, this is an amazing sketch. And you're also, what he's doing is paying respect to comedians going, I'm Dave Bautista. I'm trying to make it as an actor, just about. There's no fucking way I'm going to try and do an hour of being funny. Who the fuck am I to try? You know, it's very cool of him to do it that way. Like,
but I like he does, like, this is what the difference between them. Like, I love how much he respects that. He's like, he's putting up things like, you know, I'm taking acting lessons, I'm doing this, I'm studying this film, I've watched this. I asked, you know, was it Denis Villeneuve was talking about when he had him on Blade Runner? He said the guy was in my ear the whole fucking time. Just, oh, what should I do? Could I do this? He wants to learn. Whereas The Rock is like, this film's going to be great. We've got the biggest gym you've ever seen that we're going to work out here. We've got the biggest trees. We've got that. No point do you mention the story. Do you mention the film? And the thing that annoys the shit out of me, he watches films on a laptop. Like, he could pay to have a cinema bit. Like, he pays to have a gym brought everywhere. Yeah. And he's like, oh, I'm going to watch this new, you know, the new great Christopher Nolan film. I'm going to watch it here on my phone on the side of the, and you're like, oh, for fuck's, just build a cinema in your house. Like, have some sort of respect for your craft.
Doesn't have to. That's the thing. Like, if you have, but I suppose Batista doesn't have to either, like, you know, but at the same time, but you can actually see Batista getting better as an actor. You go, oh, cool. He's actually getting better. Because like, the world of him in Game of Thrones started out, and how in sweet fuck some of them got into the Game of Thrones, I'll never know. But you can actually see him progressing, going, oh, you're getting better as actors as this goes on. Like, for you, what's been the best movie so far? We'll say, let's say throughout lockdown, the last 18 months. Because you have watched everything. You watch it with a magnifying glass / fine-tooth comb. To an ignoramus like me, what are we talking?
My favorite has probably been Promising Young Woman. That's the last one I saw that I went, oh, yeah, like you said, there's been fuck all the last 18 months. Where everyone's been kind of sitting on everything, or, you know, trying to really squeeze out the shit blockbusters. That was the last one that I seen and went, holy shit, that's something different. I haven't seen anything like this. It was like this kind of weird horror drama. I don't know how much you know about it. Basically, Carey Mulligan's character, she goes to bars, pretends to be locked, takes home lads. The lad goes to try to take advantage of her, and all of a sudden she goes, no, I'm not drunk. And they're like, oh shit. And then there's a whole backstory of why she's doing this, and it's basically like a revenge movie. But it's just like everything about the performances are brilliant. The soundtrack is fantastic. And I was just like, please, like, oh, this is the one that suffered the most from not being in the cinema. This is the one, like, you would have got deadly word of mouth, or, it sounds like so pedantic. Like when A Star Was Born, you had all those memes and stuff of, oh, I just wanted to look at you one more time. I think that would have got that kind of treatment, and that would have been the buzz film of the year. Instead, it was Nomadland, which was grand, but it was something you admire rather than you enjoy. But the thing that annoyed me about it is, like, you watch that and this is something new and unique and different. And now the director's making a DC superhero film. You're like, just give her fucking 20-30 million and make whatever the fuck she wants. Like, it doesn't matter who directs a superhero film. Like, Captain Marvel made $1 billion, and who the fuck directed that? Like, who directed? Like, I don't know.
And like that, did you watch that? Were you able to go to the cinema to see that? Because I haven't been back to the cinema in 2 years nearly at this stage now.
That one, no, that one that one I think was one of the last ones I saw before the whole thing kind of kicked off. But then Tenant came out, and that was supposed to be the one that saved cinema, and that was the greatest load of shite. And then
what the fuck was going on in that?
I couldn't understand a word of it, and then there was just that bong, and even like it stops in the middle. It was just so pretentious. Like, it stops in the middle of the film. It's like, can't make sense, but don't worry about it. Just go with it. And that's basically like saying, look, I'm too lazy to write any sort of coherent explanation for this. I'll just pretend that it's got, like, the whole reason that film exists is so twats on YouTube can write essays like, why Tenet is secretly a masterpiece. It's all these fucking Snyder Cut lunatics as well.
Oh yeah, that old Snyder Cut lunatics. Snyder must love that shit.
He by all accounts seems like a decent enough fella. Like, that whole thing, he donated like a shit ton of money to a suicide prevention charity. Like, the whole reason he left in the first place, his daughter committed suicide, but apparently there was issues before that with Warner's wanted to take him off, but that's the reason that was given. But if you have like a spare hour, or you're just kind of bored, I love that. I'll just tweet something like, oh, it's mad they spent all that money and it turned out, everyone loved Joss Whedon's version of the film better. # release the Snyder Cut. And within seconds, you will have all these lunatics, and they've all got the same, like, their Twitter profile pictures, like Superman. You don't understand cinema. We're so layered. And I was like, so's a fucking lasagna. Doesn't mean it's, it's in any way deep. Like, it's hilarious. They're just like, how you get psychotically devoted to something that bland.
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's like, yeah, it was grand. I wouldn't base my whole personality around it. Like, every picture they have is like a retweet of that, or it's like all they talk about is that. I was like, it was okay. Like, it turned a 2-star film into a 3-star film, but like, I'm not going to devote my life to it.
Isn't it funny? I suppose people just love being in a tribe of any sorts. Like, they just need a tribe. Let me in. It's the same with the cyclists. Like, you know what I mean? Heaven forbid. I won't lie. I've rolled a couple of grenades down those fucking bicycle paths a few times, just on a Saturday night when I've possibly had a drink or two, to just go, let's see what happens here. And it's funny how Twitter steers them to you. You wouldn't have tagged anything or hashtagged anything. Just put something about cycling on. Oh my fucking days. The religious levels that religion should make a comeback just to tie up some of these people who need a team to hang out with, like, because holy sweet. But movies, when I like that, I have followed a few where people are fucking dedicated, hanging. Imagine being fucking Schneider or whatever, like, and you turn up at Comic-Con, like, Jesus, Mary and Joseph, like, the level of fanboying that goes on there. Or if you were Taika fucking Waikiki or Taika, what's it? Like, can you imagine? Like, there's definitely lads sending him like tissues full of semen and stuff like that for sure. You know it. He's
that much of a lunatic. I wouldn't be surprised if he's sending them back. But you just look like, what I couldn't understand is like the whole thing before it came out, like, Snyder was like, oh, we were going to do this, we were going to do that, we were going to do the other thing. And I was like, and they're like, this would have been the best film. I was like, he made 2 films before that where he was allowed to do whatever he wanted, and they were grand. So I don't know why you think all of a sudden this was going to be the one that is masterpiece. Like, it's not as if it's, Kubrick's Napoleon film that was never made, that it's like, oh, this would have been like an all-time classic, or the Nick Cage Superman. I'm raging we didn't get it. You've seen pretty much what it was going to look like, and then when it came out, it was like, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
And this is the thing, like, people get so fanatical about the superhero thing. You're kind of going, but this has all been created years ago. You're just making a better version of, a shinier version of a thing that was invented years ago. It's not like something that has been completely, like, even the story of Thor. You know, a lot of the skeleton is there already for.
Yeah.
You just go back in history and just go, oh well, okay, so there was the Valkyries, right? Write that in somewhere. You know, it's not completely fresh out of anybody's fucking, you know, out of their fucking imagination. So there's times when you're kind of going, all right, lads, if with enough money, fucking anybody could make this. Like,
that's what you're saying. Like, you're not seeing fucking, like, I know Scorsese. Like, Scorsese isn't going around making fucking Batman, like, because you don't need him, because they're basically told to sit there, shut up, collect your check, off you go. Like, whereas, and I loved, like, I was sort of like a fucking Joker tattoo. I read comics my whole life, so like I was for years like, oh, the last comic book film we got was Batman and Robin. I was like, imagine they made another Batman film. Now all of a sudden, you know, we've got fucking Howard the Duck and all coming out, and I'm like, even I'm sick of it now, because the whole, like you were saying there, like a film you love, Legally Blonde, mid-budget film. I know they did a sequel to it, but that wasn't based on anything. It wasn't, you know, there wasn't a comic book, there wasn't a book, there wasn't that. They're not making films like that anymore. It's like, well, it's not based on anything. We can't make 6 sequels and a spin-off to it. What's the point of pouring 30 million in to make 50 million when we can put 200 million in and potentially make £1 billion on it? So they're not making, you know, filmmakers aren't there to tell a story. They're doing it for nothing.
So tell me this, when you saw that Joker movie, because I know this will be contentious with you now, were you as like a fucking bent for it as so many people that I know in the theater world, especially theater actors? They were absolutely fucking foaming for that Joker movie. Were you in the same? I know you were excited. I remember talking to you prior to it. You were like, this is going to be fucking class, Tom. I'm big into it. When it did finally land, we were like, well, this is it. We've reached peak. Or well, where were you?
I absolutely loved it. But
did you?
I'm looking at it going, well, this is basically King of Comedy. This is, they've remade this type of film into this. And everyone's like, oh, it's so unique and original. And it's all this. I was like, I was thinking, maybe because I was hoping, I was like, oh, this will be good, because then they'll start using superhero films as a jumping off point to do new types of films. They're going to make a King of Comedy Joker, or they're going to make something like, you know, The French Connection, but with Batman happens to be in it, and then it'll be like, people will look back and go, well, actually, if you've watched Joker, you'll love the King of Comedy. But it didn't never really happen. Like,
Schindler's List with Thor, just to see, you know, just
just scraping names on the side of the hammer. This hammer is absolute good, yes.
Because I honestly did, I mean, the way, and there was people I was working with at the time in theater production, they were, but also there seems to be a thing too with everything, whether it's music or comedies, there seems to be a thing when something is popular to put out there in the zeitgeist, as they say, a notion of a thing, it's very, very popular to everybody rowing behind it. Go, mine, you know, oh my God, I was crying the whole way through it. You know, were you really? Can you watch it objectively and not imagine anybody else's opinion? Because I watched it and I went, Grant.
I think the bar has been so, like we're saying about Stewart, the bar is so low now that this is one where there's like, you had a good actor with a decent director with a semi, you know, it wasn't like it was a decent set in 70s New York or something we haven't seen in that genre. Grant, it's different enough and it's telling a different enough story that it looks like it's something unique and original. Well, really, it's like there's 50 different films that look exactly the same as it, but just because it wasn't like a blue light in the sky and the big team up and slapping on a lunchbox, everyone's like, oh, it's adult, it's so deep, and it's not really. Like, Joaquin Phoenix was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't something like, it didn't reinvent cinema, and it wasn't used as a, you know, this new wave of films like that. Never happened. Like, everyone got the wrong idea from it. It's like, oh, let's just make a really violent penguin where he stabs people in the face, and that's the same thing. It's like, no, you really missed the message of all the. It's like Todd Phillips doing like a tribute act to Martin Scorsese. Yeah, it's good, but like, you know, Martin Scorsese's still better.
There was a moment when we were watching it at home, and it summed up for me. And my wife, she's a smart woman, but she wasn't fully paying attention because she normally, she does like a deep movie like that. And she was watching the Joker. She's like, it's just continuous sadness, isn't it? Is that where we're just going to watch an hour and a half to 2 hours of this man being sad? I went, yeah, okay. And she faded, and now she was reading a book. And I remember she looked up when he was having a meltdown moment. This will tell you where her head was at. And it kind of summed up where, if the movie isn't good enough, it hasn't gripped her because she likes a good movie. And he pulled out everything out of the fridge, all the racks out of the fridge, and he climbed into the fridge. She looked up and went, "Oh, so this is the bit where he turns into the penguin. Fine." All right, there we go. I think we should shut off the movie now. There's no point watching anymore because it's like, okay. Yeah. Or even better again, if he stood out and it was Arnie stood out as Mr. Freeze, like that would have been, for me, that's where they should have gone with it. I mean, him having just because just him being the poster boy for everybody who's ever had a fucking dark fucking weekend.
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy now wandering around New York on TikTok, and he has this. He does himself up and he starts every video with him from a lying down position, normally in a dustbin or something. And there's some song I don't know. Have you seen it?
No.
He's painted his face green. He's got his eyes all white, and he's ripping off the whole Joker thing. But because people believe it's profound, he's just wandering around New York, just flopping around as the Joker.
Of all the cities to pick, like that's the one city where people will just step over you and not give an absolute shit.
Yeah. But for some reason, this guy is, he's now amassed a huge following. So they're like, wow, he's profound. No, he's ripping off a movie that was kind of already telling a story that was always going to be there anyway. Do you know, like?
And you'd see that, like, the people doing the memes with the quotes, the fucking, it's the Joker face. People don't realize the depth of the man between me. Live, laugh, love, or something fucking ridiculous like that.
But it's the age, because I couldn't resist it. You found a brilliant through thread of a load of movies that all had pretty much the same fucking poster. That was brilliant. You found the one with the eye. How many fucking movies have just had an eye as their poster?
It's again, it's one of those things where we were on the show and we were talking about the best films of the year, and Free Guy and The Dry. And Gordon Hayden, who is the host of the show, he said, "Oh, that Free Guy poster looks like a prequel for The Dry." So then I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing the thing about the posters looking." So then I'm down a rabbit hole doing all this, and I found about 700 posters that are all similar. So of course that wasn't enough. So then the next day I got it into my head. I was like, remember Jared Leto put on a load of weight to play Mark David Chapman, and no one gave up bollocks. Who else has done that? And then next thing you know, I have pictures of 50 Cent, of Ryan
what did
Gosling.
50 Cent dropped it? Because 50 Cent ended up looking like DMX. Like what?
I think it was an American footballer who got cancer or something like that. The film, like, I don't even know if the film even got released. He dropped something like 17 kilos, and everyone don't give a bollocks. Like,
I suppose he was probably going for his, Dallas Buyers Club moment. Where you're like 50, go back to selling water.
But to be fair, Jared Leto has pretended, like, has managed to convince everybody he's a good actor because he lost a lot of weight once.
That's a big thing. That was the thing that almost annoyed me about Joaquin Phoenix. I was like, you could have done this movie without making the sideshow of you losing all the weight, because that seems to be a thing. If you're really dedicated to your craft, you'll drop a ton of weight, like, Christian Bale or whatever. I was kind of going, you were class at Gladiator weight. You were class, where you were class at that weight. You really don't have to. And I don't know it's almost a bit of a sideshow, like somebody getting a fucking face tattoo. You're like, well, that's fucking ruined it for me now. Because
like Jared Leto is basically Wish.com Johnny Depp, where he's just got the artsy fartsy thing. And I think there's a lot to be said. Like he's lost all that weight or gained all that weight and done all this kooky. He has a cult. He has this thing like once a year in Croatia where people come to, and I'm not making this up.
Fuck.
It's what's the fucking stupid band? Is it 30 Seconds to Mars, his band?
Yeah.
Or something like that?
Yeah.
So basically you go there, they play a concert, and then you spend the rest of the weekend, eating organic food and meditating. And there's like time dedicated to like worshipping Jared Leto. And he appears in all his whites, like basically giving the Sermon on the Mount, giving his thoughts on life. It costs like $5,000 for like 3 days.
What the
and why?
fuck?
Like, it just hasn't been reported. I remember reading, I was like, that can't be right. And then of course fell down the rabbit hole looking at that, and I was like, this is a real thing. This is like,
that's incredible.
And no one's pulled. I was like, he's got a fucking cult.
I've got to get fucking Rochford onto this with those conspiracies. What the really?
Rochford would fucking love this.
He would chomp it up. No doubt he's come across it at some stage. He's probably going to it later on next year, like, for the crack. But
we're saying there like about dropping all the weight and gaining all the weight and doing all that. It really just makes you appreciate how good Sean Connery was, where he's like, okay, you're playing a Russian submarine captain. Grant, I'm going to be a Russian submarine captain. He's like, want to do anything about that accent? No, this is Russian. Fuck it, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, off you go, Sean. And you're watching and go, geez, he was fucking brilliant. But he's supposed to be Irish in The Untouchables, and he got an Oscar for it.
Yeah.
clearly a Scotsman.
He doesn't give a fuck. I'm obviously a Spaniard. When it came to Highland, you're like, oh, clearly you're a Spaniard. For sure you are. Like,
I would have there's few moments in movie history where I'd love to have been, and I'd love to be in the casting room for Highlander, where they went, okay, we need a Scotsman. I'd be really good at that. The very clearly French Christopher Lambert. It's like, okay, we need a Spaniard playing, Jimenez Hardres Rodriguez. What's Sean Connery up to? Like, how much cocaine was in that room where you're like, oh, I need someone like really Spaniard and dressed like a peacock? We'll get James Bond.
Yeah. Do you know what, though? You could have put Connery, I can allow, but fucking Duncan MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. It's like there wasn't one Scottish bloke knocking around, or even British bloke that you could have gotten that could maybe wrangle an accent, but doesn't make a fucking difference. Still, Highlander movies,
Christopher Lambert seems to have this, like, it's like a casting blind spot. Like, at some point they were casting the Mortal Kombat film and they had a picture of, the God of Thunder and Lighter Raiden on the wall, and went, Highlander lad. That's who needs to be in that. And I was like, is he not fucking Asian or something? Like, no, throw him in there. Christopher
Put the
Lambert.
fucking hat on him, lads. Run it down over the eyes. Put the fucking hat on him. The eyes are going to be fucking bleached out with fucking... Not at all. Put them on there. Isn't there a new Mortal Kombat coming out, or imagine it?
Yeah, it came out a couple of weeks ago, and it's, apart from the fact there is no Mortal Kombat in the film, it's fantastic. I was about 3 beers deep when I started it, and I was throwing every punch and kick with it. Like,
oh, can't, because I really, really was looking forward to that. So it's out already, is it?
Yeah, it knew exactly what it wanted to be. It was,
lovely.
like Kong versus Godzilla. I was dying for that, and it's just like, no, you're taking itself way too seriously. Whereas Mortal Kombat was like, this is fucking ridiculous. Just, we'll pretend there's some sort of story to this, and just every so often somebody shout, get over here, and do like the catchphrase.
Yes.
We'll be grand. It's exactly what I wanted it to be. Just
brilliant.
3 beers deep, ridiculous, sitting on my couch, throwing every punch and kick. Like,
I
was in my fucking element.
I'm so glad, because whatever way your face was moving there, I went, oh, Andy's going to tell me it's shit. Oh, fuck. So, advice of next movie to go watch this weekend?
This weekend, what's out this weekend? Shang-Chi and Snake Eyes. Do not watch Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is absolutely terrible.
Is it?
1 sec.
That what's his name's fucking Nick Cage.
No, I watched that as well because that's on Disney Plus. Actually, Stars on Disney Plus has this deadly little, like, there's like this like subculture of streaming where you, like, all these films you've completely forgotten about. Like Snake Eyes is on Disney Plus, the Nick Cage film. I watched that. It's fucking bananas. Has the worst boxing fight I've ever seen in cinema history. And like, it's bizarre. It's just watch it like that. The film is like, he's this cop who shows up at it's a conspiracy where they're killing a government official at a boxing match, because as you do, like,
yeah.
But it's just Nick Cage going full Nick Cage. Like, he's
Brilliant.
Just like screaming, he's dancing, he's singing at the top of his voice just randomly in the middle of interrogations. You're like, oh, this is kind of the birth of him going full fucking psycho. But no, the Snake Eyes thing is the G.I. Joe character who doesn't talk. So of course they have to give him an origin story. And it's a film that has ninjas, people swinging on Tarzans. They've got 3 or 4 100-foot anacondas. And somehow it's still boring.
Yeah, I was just going to say this. I'm not seeing the downside here. How did it ruin that?
It just, like, you're just watching going, how have you made this so incredibly bland and boring? And you've taken like the guy in a Henry Golding, who I was hoping would be the next James Bond. I'm watching this going, oh no, maybe not now.
Who's going to be the next Bond, you reckon?
I was hoping for him or Dan Stevens. I don't know if you've ever seen The Guest.
Yes, yeah.
Him, I think he'd be perfect for it.
Fuck it, right?
But they're going to end up like, it's going to be someone like Aidan Turner or some.
Yeah.
The next up,
because at the minute it seems to be, judging by the posters you had put together, and I decided to put my own oar in because I own a baseball hat and I have facial hair. It seems to be the Roughneck is the movie. The Roughneck lead, for Justin Timberlake is Justin Timberlake, which I think is a way better name than Timberlake. Matt Damon and what's his name?
Marky.
Is the Roughneck the one this month?
that seems to be like again casting things like we need some like really rough and ready character like Justin Timberlake.
Yeah, lethal. He can fucking moonwalk, lads. Come on,
the guy from NSYNC.
Yeah, he's bringing sexy back. Saying no fucking more. Like. Yeah, because we'd Matt Damon up the road here. There was a time when he was filming in Cahir Castle for the last Duel, I think it was. I was like, this is showing up in my fucking hometown. He's got a mullet. Like if that fucker starts with a Tipperary accent in the last Duel, if I watch that and he's trying to do a tip, we're gonna have fucking words. Is there any hope for that? Because it looks fucking dire.
I thought that actually looked all right. I thought the trailer didn't look too bad. No.
Maybe I'm seeing that one where he was jumping off the Great Wall of China, chasing dragons. Now that was.
Yes, the famously Chinese Matt Damon.
Fucking
Christopher Lambert. He's after doing all like he's after kicking off another wave of this. Like he got photographed with the super value bag and having the Guinness, and now they're giving it to every fucking actor at customs. Now it's like take a Guinness, take a super value bag, and say how much you love Ireland, because you can see like the whole Enchanted thing. Patrick Dempsey and what's her fucking face? And was Anne Hathaway?
No, not Anne Hathaway. Kendrick. No, she was fucking Borat's wife.
Eliza Fisher.
Yes. Yeah. Isn't it her?
Just posted. I would need to double check. I don't think it is.
We moved out, to be honest with you. We literally the week they started building props and building the set, we moved out of Enniskerry because that wasn't the driving force, but at the same time I was glad as fuck I had. So it was like I can't
Amy Adams, that's it.
Amy Adams. Right. Well done, because there's people, would have been shouting at it right now, going, these two. This guy, whatever about me.
She done her own Wild Mountain Thyme as well with Leap Year, which was every bit as fucking horrendous as that.
Was that based in fucking? No, it was the Notebook. Was it the Notebook? No, the one with Jared Butler where he had to apologize for how bad.
P.S. I love you.
P.S. I love you. That was based in Enniskerry as well. Oh Jesus Christ! Again, didn't get through it all.
The guy who plays his best friend, and that is the fella who was Spike in Buffy.
Oh Jesus, right. Yes.
And he was over for Dublin Comic Con and I was hosting his panel. He's the soundest fucking bloke in the world. But he played obviously Spike as an English guy in Buffy. And I said it to him, I was like, you were on PS I Love You. He's like, you're great with the accents and all that. I was like, at any point did you turn around to Jared Butler and say, like, what the fuck you at, man? And he goes, I'll tell you a story about Jared Butler. He's like, I showed up and it was like me and him only had a couple of scenes together because like it's all told in flashbacks that me and him are best mates. So he called, like the day we go in, he calls me and goes, come here. He goes, we need to be kind of convincing that we're best friends. So he pulls out a bottle of whiskey and he's just started, he goes, like, going shot for shot. And he's like, okay, we have to tell embarrassing stories about each other until we finish the bottle. And he's like, by the end of it, we were fucking legless. And he was like, best mates for life by the end of it. And he's like, I don't know how much that actually made it on the screen because I was too lamp to remember my fucking lines. He goes, but I made a friend for life in Jared Butler. So by all accounts, he seems like a decent enough bloke. So I can forgive the accent more than Jamie Dornan.
He got pulled up for the accent about it. And in fairness, his self-awareness went, to the nation of Ireland, I can only apologize. It was like he'd met somebody who showed him, you know what I mean? He ran into, Daniel Day-Lewis or something down the road in Spar and went, come here. Do you want to know how to do an accent? They were making a bollocks of that one, but it was too late in at that stage. It's like, oh God, I got to power in and the check won't clear if I don't finish this movie. Fuck. You couldn't change it. I'd love to
tell Daniel Day-Lewis that The Rock is the highest paid actor of all time. And just remember how serious you took all this? That's what got rewarded.
Yeah.
Just to see his face.
Do you know, the same fellow, like going, cobbling shoes and stuff like that. I don't think money is something that drives that man. It's just... Can you imagine the nightmare of what he's like? Daniel Day-Lewis coming back after, being fucking Wild Bill or whatever for, Bill the Butcher for 6 months.
Yeah, like his wife was asked about that, and she's like, "Oh yeah, he was tough to live with for a while during the Bill the Butcher thing." Could you there's just a nonsense part to Hollywood like that. Like, imagine you coming back to your wife and go, "I am staying in character as Bill the Butcher." No, you're fucking not. Shut the fuck up, Tom. Yeah. There's
a shitty nappy to be changed.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, great. Thanks, Bill. Bill, put down the knife, Bill, and your gammy eye and get in there and change the shitty nappy, would you? Like, in fairness, although the wife has probably been sound about it too, but at the same time, like, you could be guaranteed that's not fucking tolerated in the least. But I've taken up enough of your time. Tell me, and we'll tell everybody, because I'm hopefully, if you'll have me on, Extra Vision. Because you've had fucking names on. In all fairness, you've had names on.
Al Foran, the John Connors, Jarlath Regan, Gordon Hayden, Vic Notero, Yeah, I've had.
Had
So I'm
you?
gonna
Had
lower my
you?
standards for you.
But you the Scottish doctor didn't you have on recently
Peter
as well?
Capaldi as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the soundest bloke.
He comes across very fucking sound.
I was nervous about that one because there's been a few that I've met that I've really liked, and then you meet and go, "Oh, you're a bit of a prick. You're just
Is
throwing
that
this on."
similar to what happened with us, essentially?
Like when I met you the first time, like
Yeah.
you've been a huge idol of mine since the Damon Ivor days, and I just because I knew you back in the day when you used to play rugby for Black Rock when your name was Dennis when I knew you.
Yeah,
Your dad hired that stylist and said, "Here, grow a scruff, wear some culty stuff, and change your name to Tom."
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
Because like you're Tom O'Mahony, and he's like, "It's grand because your initials are your name as well." Culties fucking eat that
They
stuff.
love that
grand,
shit.
yeah.
Everybody's called
Lean into it.
fucking Bob O'Byrne down there. It's fine. It's fine.
Kill some deer, wear some camo, you'd be grand. Go fucking eat that shit up. And you were like, yeah, Chase McGout's on the route. Yeah.
Chase McGout. Do you know what? That was so much fun doing that shit because in my head it was exactly as ridiculous I imagined. And then when you meet people you didn't imagine.
Before I forget, you worked with Rick Mail.
Yes, yeah, I did. I work
colossal prick.
Yeah, I actually got to share. We shared a packet of eggs. On more than a couple of days, and I actually had lunch 3 or 4 days, and he came to see me do stand up. We had it was basically like, imagine if you just taken up boxing, like literally you're still using the gloves that the gym have, and you just only own your own gum shield, and then Triple G or Muhammad Ali bends, time fucking continuum and comes back and he's actually the real guy, the original, and you get to hang out with him for the week. That's essentially what happened. So I mean, not that this hasn't been a really enjoyable hour, but I've pretty much peaked early doors by meeting a hero. And I don't, not saying that you weren't a hero of mine, Andy, but at the same time,
I rank just below Flashheart, I imagine, for you.
You know what? And you're definitely, I think there's space for you maybe to exceed and go beyond that if you do, but you're going to have to get some fairly special trousers. So Extravision is the name of your podcast. I'll put the link in the show notes below anyway, but
Extravision with an E for legal reasons.
Yeah, of course. Is it even legal anymore given that they're fucking gone?
You wouldn't know. There's somebody owns that name or that design somewhere that will be only delighted to whip my massive podcast millions that I'm shoveling out the door. Joe Rogan-esque money that I'm making.
Andy, thanks a million.
Cheers. Thanks, though.